What if the limiters on your body were installed on purpose? Why are we only allowed to touch that power when we're seconds from death? Who built that cage? And more importantly, who profits from keeping you weak? Let me tell you about Lydia Anguille, February 2006, Ivujivik, Quebec. A polar bear, 700 pounds of apex predator, charged directly at her 7-year-old son. In that moment, this 90-pound Inuit mother didn't run. She didn't scream. She became something else entirely. Witnesses watched in disbelief as she fought the bear with her bare hands for several minutes until help arrived. Not wrestling it, not pushing it, fighting it. Landing blows that made a creature 3 times her weight retreat. She flipped the switch. Today you'll learn to do it, without the bear. Imagine yourself 3 months from now. That weight you've been stuck at for years, you're repping it for warm-ups. That mental fog that hits every afternoon, gone. Replaced by a clarity so sharp it feels like you've been sleepwalking your entire life. This isn't fantasy. This is documented neuroscience meeting. Ancient wisdom. Meeting cutting-edge biohacking. But I need to warn you about something. Some who attempted to unlock this power lost more than just their fatigue. They lost their very sense of humanity. Stay to the end to understand why and how to avoid their fate. Welcome to the Forbidden Energy Switch. Here's what we know. Your body is capable of superhuman feats right now, not after years of training, not with steroids. Right now, as you're watching this, you possess the neurological wiring to double your strength output. The science is undeniable. Motor unit recruitment studies show that untrained individuals use only 20 to 30% of their available muscle fibers during voluntary contraction. Under extreme stress, that number jumps to 60 to 80%. So why can't you access it? Because you're living in a carefully constructed cage, and that cage has a name, the neural governor. It's a safety mechanism, sure, but it's also something more sinister. It's a control mechanism that keeps you dependent, keeps you buying supplements, keeps you believing you need permission to be powerful. The Matrix isn't just a movie metaphor. It's the perfect description of our modern predicament. We're swimming in a sea of dopamine hijackers, cortisol triggers, and learned helplessness. Your phone, your food, your daily routine, they're all designed to keep that governor locked tight, to keep you operating at 30% while telling yourself, this is just how strong I am. The energy switch I'm about to reveal operates on 4 interconnected layers: breath, bioelectric, belief, and behavior. Master these 4, and you don't just get stronger. You reclaim sovereignty over your own nervous system. You literally hack the code of your biological operating system. Think about this. We're living through the greatest burnout epidemic in human history. 60% of people who start a gym routine quit within 6 months. Not because they're lazy, because they're operating with the parking brake on. They're pushing against invisible walls that shouldn't exist. What you're about to learn isn't new, it's ancient. Shaolin monks have known it for centuries. Soviet special forces perfected it in secret facilities. Elite athletes stumble upon pieces of it, but nobody, and I mean nobody, has put it all together in a systematic, scientifically backed framework that any person can implement. Until now. Let's start with the neuroscience, because once you understand the mechanism, you can hack the mechanism. Your brain contains something called the primary motor cortex. This is command central for voluntary movement. When you decide to lift something heavy, electrical signals cascade from this region down through your spinal cord to recruit motor units, bundles of muscle fibers that contract in unison. But here's where it gets interesting. Between your brain's command and your muscle's action lies a series of inhibitory mechanisms. The most important, the Golgi tendon organ. This microscopic sensor embedded in your tendons constantly monitors tension. When it detects force approaching a threshold it deems dangerous, it sends an override signal. Stop. Any more and we tear. Accept that threshold. It's set absurdly low, like a revenue limiter on a supercar that could do 200 miles per hour but cuts out at 120. Safe? Sure. But you bought the car to go fast, didn't you? Now watch what happens when epinephrine floods your system during life or death moments. That Golgi threshold gets overridden. The inhibitory signals get drowned out by a neurochemical cocktail so powerful it literally rewires your limits in real time. This is why that 110-pound grandmother can suddenly lift a 3,000-pound car off her grandchild. The strength was always there. The permission to use it wasn't. But here's what nobody tells you. You don't need a life or death situation to access this state. You just need to understand the back door into your own nervous system. Let me share something that will blow your mind. In the 1960s, Soviet researchers discovered they could increase an athlete's strength output by 15 to 20% using nothing but specific breathing patterns and visualization. No drugs, no training, just conscious manipulation of the autonomic nervous system. They called it psychophysical conditioning. The West dismissed it as communist propaganda. They were wrong. Fast forward to today. We have fMRI scans showing that specific breathing patterns can directly influence motor cortex excitability. We have EMG data proving that grounding techniques create measurable changes in muscle recruitment patterns. We have peer-reviewed studies on how belief, literal belief, can increase force production by up to 25%. The ancient Eastern traditions, they were right all along. Chi, prana, life force, call it whatever you want. They were describing bioelectrical phenomena that we're only now able to measure. That tingling sensation during deep breathing, that's increased nerve conductivity, that feeling of power during meditation, that's your neural inhibition dropping. But let me be very clear about something. This isn't mystical nonsense. This isn't about chakras or energy healing or any of that. This is about measurable, repeatable physiological changes that you can trigger on command. The framework I'm about to teach you combines 4 distinct layers, each building on the last. Think of it like a combination lock. You need all 4 numbers in the right sequence or the vault stays closed. Layer 1, breath the fuse. Your breathing pattern directly controls your autonomic nervous system. Most people breathe like they're constantly running from a predator, short, shallow, chest-based. This keeps you locked in sympathetic dominance, stress hormones high, neural inhibition maxed out. The specific pattern I'll teach you, a 2-1-4-1 tactical breath with a short exhale hiss, literally changes your neurochemistry in under 60 seconds. It's the fuse that lights everything else. Layer 2, bioelectric, the wire. Your body is an electrical system. Every nerve impulse, every muscle contraction, every thought, it's all bioelectricity. When you're insulated from the Earth's surface by rubber shoes and surrounded by EMF pollution, your electrical system gets noisy, distorted, weak. Simple grounding techniques, barefoot contact, specific hand positions, even controlled static discharge can increase nerve conduction velocity by measurable percentages. It's like cleaning corrosion off battery terminals. Suddenly, the power flows. Layer 3, belief, the switch. This is where we lose the skeptics, but this is also where the real power lies. Your beliefs about your capabilities create neurological realities. When you believe you're weak, your motor cortex literally reduces recruitment signals. When you believe you're powerful, the opposite occurs. The 10-second deity visualization I'll teach you isn't woo-woo nonsense. It's a targeted intervention that uses your brain's inability to distinguish between vivid imagination and reality. Olympic athletes use variations of this. Navy SEALs use it. You're about to use it. Layer 4, behavior, the circuit. Knowledge without application is worthless. The behavioral protocols, specific CNS primers, weekly challenges, recovery techniques, These complete the circuit. They turn a parlor trick into a lifestyle, into a new baseline, into your new normal. When you combine all 4 layers in the correct sequence, something extraordinary happens. The neural governor doesn't just loosen, it recalibrates. Your new safe becomes everyone else's impossible. But here's the warning I promised you. This power comes with a price. When you start accessing strength levels your ego isn't prepared for, when you start moving weights that used to intimidate you like they're toys, something psychological shifts. I've seen it happen. Good people become arrogant. Humble athletes become reckless. The power corrupts, just like every spiritual tradition warned. That's why the final component of this system isn't about getting stronger. It's about staying human while you do it. Let me demonstrate exactly what I'm talking about. Right now, wherever you're watching this, I want you to test your current capacity. If you have access to a pull-up bar, perfect. If not, push-ups work too. Pause the video and do as many as you can with good form. Write down the number. Seriously, do it now. I'll wait. Got your number? Good. Now I'm going to take you through a 3-minute activation sequence. No warm-up, no preparation, just 3 minutes of specific breathing, grounding, and visualization. Then you're going to test again. The difference will shock you. Here we go. First, the breathing pattern. Inhale through your nose for a count of 2. 1, 2. Hold for 1. Now exhale through pursed lips for 4. But on the last count, make a sharp hiss. Like this. 1, 2, 3, hiss. That hiss spikes intra-abdominal pressure and activates deep core stabilizers. Again. Inhale. 1, 2, hold. 1, exhale. 1, 2, 3, hiss. Continue this pattern for 10 breaths. Feel that tingling in your fingers? That slight lightheadedness? Perfect. Your CO. 2 levels are dropping, your blood pH is shifting, your neural excitability is increasing. Now grounding. If you're wearing shoes, take them off. Place your feet flat on the floor, slightly wider than shoulder width. Reach down and touch the ground with your fingertips. If you can't reach, touch your knees. The goal is to complete an electrical circuit through your body. Hold this position and take 5 more breaths with the same pattern. Feel that? That subtle electric sensation running up your legs? That's not imagination. That's measurable bioelectrical flow. Your body is literally becoming more conductive. Now stand up. This is where belief enters. Close your eyes. For the next 10 seconds, I want you to become the strongest version of yourself. See yourself from the outside, moving with perfect form, every muscle fiber firing in perfect synchrony. Feel the bar in your hands. Feel the easy power flowing through you. You're not hoping to be strong. You are strong. It's already done. Open your eyes. Go test again. Now, what did you just experience? For most of you, a 15 to 25% increase from 3 minutes of breathing and visualization. No training, no supplements, no warm-up, just accessing what was already there. And that's just scratching the surface. The full system I'm about to reveal includes morning activation sequences that prime your nervous system for the entire day. Pre-training protocols that make your warm-up weights feel like air. Weekly challenges designed to progressively push back your neural boundaries while keeping you safe. Let me give you the morning switch on routine. This takes 5 minutes and will change the entire trajectory of your day. First, immediately upon waking, before you check your phone, before you do anything, you perform 20 breath cycles with the pattern I just taught you. But here's the key. You do them standing, with your arms raised overhead. This position opens your rib cage, increases lung capacity, and activates the entire posterior chain. Next, the chi bounce. Sounds mystical, it's not. Stand with feet shoulder width apart. Begin bouncing gently on your toes, letting your arms swing freely. As you bounce, imagine, feel energy rising from the earth through your feet, up your legs, through your core, out through your crown. Bounce for 60 seconds. This isn't cardio. This is nervous system activation. You're literally shaking awake every proprioceptor in your body. Finally, the 40-second isometric flex. Choose 3 positions: arms extended forward, arms at 90 degrees, arms fully flexed. Hold each position for 13 seconds, tensing every muscle in your body as hard as possible. This isn't about moving weight. It's about teaching your nervous system to recruit maximally without external resistance. It's pure neural training. Do this every morning for a week, just 1 week. The changes will be undeniable. Now let's talk about the pre-lift primer. This is what you do immediately before attempting any max effort. 2 minutes of nose-only breathing while walking. Not slow breathing, rapid, powerful nasal breaths, 15 to 20 per minute. This activates sympathetic arousal while maintaining parasympathetic balance. You want controlled aggression, not panic. Then 3 clap push-ups. Yes, clap push-ups. The explosive movement with airborne phase triggers something called post-activation potentiation. Your nervous system gets shocked into a higher state of readiness. If you can't do clap push-ups, do 3 maximum effort regular push-ups with a 2-second pause at the bottom. The ammonia sniff is optional but powerful. Old school powerlifters know this trick. The harsh smell triggers an instant fight or flight response, flooding your system with norepinephrine. Your neural inhibition drops for about 30 to 60 seconds. That's your window. But here's what separates the system from typical pre-workout hype. We're not just jacking up your nervous system randomly. We're systematically dismantling the barriers between your current capacity and your genetic potential. The weekly Matrix Breaker Challenge takes this even further. Every week, you're going to do something that scares you, something that makes your governor scream, "Stop." Cold plunge followed immediately by heavy sled pushes, max effort sprints in a fasted state, isometric holds beyond your breaking point. The goal isn't to hurt yourself. The goal is to repeatedly show your nervous system that its protective mechanisms are set too conservatively, that you can go beyond and survive, thrive even. But how do you know it's working? You track, you measure, you document. Heart rate variability shows nervous system adaptation. Bar speed on submaximal loads shows neural efficiency. Time to exhaustion in isometric holds shows neural drive capacity. I've created a free Notion template that tracks all of this automatically. The link is in the description. Use it. What gets measured gets managed. What gets managed gets improved. Now let me share some case studies that prove this isn't just theory. Marcus, 45-year-old software developer, hadn't lifted seriously in a decade. Deadlift max, 185 pounds. 6 weeks after implementing the full energy switch protocol, 275 pounds. Not through muscle gain, he actually lost 3 pounds. Pure neural adaptation. His muscles didn't get significantly bigger. His ability to use them did. Sarah, former Division I volleyball player, hit a plateau at 165-pound bench press. Couldn't break it for 2 years, despite perfect programming, perfect nutrition, perfect recovery. Added the belief layer, specifically the deity visualization, and hit 180 in 3 weeks. The EMG data showed 23% increased motor unit recruitment in her pectorals. Same muscles, same training, different belief, different result. Here's what's crucial to understand. This isn't about adrenaline. Everyone thinks superhuman strength comes from adrenaline, from chemical enhancement. That's the lie that keeps you dependent. Adrenaline is unsustainable. It burns out your receptors, crashes your system, leaves you weaker than before. The energy switch works through modulation, not stimulation. You're not hitting the gas harder. You're releasing the parking brake. Let me debunk some myths while we're at it. You'll tear muscles if you're too strong for your tendons. False. Your body has protective mechanisms beyond the Golgi organ. You'll fail in form before you fail in structure. This only works for genetically gifted people. False. The studies show the largest improvements in previously untrained individuals. The worse you are, the more room you have to improve. This is just placebo effect. Partially true, but so what? If belief creates measurable physiological changes, then belief is a tool. Use it. Now, the integration plan, the 90-day roadmap, days 1 to 30, awakening phase. You're learning the techniques, feeling the changes, breaking old patterns. Focus on consistency over intensity. Master the morning routine before adding complexity. Days 31 to 60, fortification phase. Your nervous system has adapted. Time to push, add weight, add volume, add challenges. Your governor is loosening. Don't waste the opportunity. Days 61 to 90, transcendence phase. This is where it gets interesting. You're not just stronger, you're different. Your relationship with effort has changed. Your identity has evolved. You need to be very careful here. Which brings me to the ethics of this power. With great strength comes great responsibility. That's not just a movie quote. It's a biological reality. When you can outlift everyone in your gym, when you can physically dominate any situation, your ego will be tested. The same neural disinhibition that makes you stronger can make you reckless, aggressive, dangerous. I've seen guys gain 50 pounds on their bench press and lose their marriage. I've seen women discover their physical power and become bullies. The strength is neutral. How you use it isn't. That's why the final component of this system is mindfulness, meditation, service. You must balance the warrior with the monk. You must use this strength to lift others up, not put them down. The moment you use this power for domination rather than development, you've lost the game. Is this safe? With progression, yes. Start slow. The biggest risk isn't physical injury, it's psychological inflation. Your muscles can handle more than you think. Your ego might not. Is this just placebo? Look at the EMG data. Look at the force plate measurements. Look at the thousands of practitioners who've transformed their physical reality. Placebo doesn't add 100 pounds to your deadlift. Who shouldn't do this? Anyone with uncontrolled hypertension, anyone with a history of tendon ruptures, anyone who can't commit to the mindfulness component. This is powerful medicine. Respect it. The real question isn't whether this works. It does. The question is whether you're ready for it, whether you're willing to let go of the story that you're weak, whether you're prepared to take responsibility for your own limitlessness. Let me take you deeper into the science, because understanding the mechanism gives you power over it. When we talk about neural inhibition, we're actually talking about multiple overlapping systems. The Golgi tendon organ is just one player in a complex symphony of protective mechanisms. You've got Renshaw cells in your spinal cord that create recurrent inhibition loops. You've got presynaptic inhibition from GABA receptors. You've got descending inhibition from the motor cortex itself. Each system evolved for survival in a world where a torn muscle meant death. But we don't live in that world anymore. Here's what fascinates me. These systems are plastic, adaptable, hackable. A study from the German Sport University Cologne showed that just 6 weeks of specific isometric training could reduce neural inhibition by 35%. Not by damaging the protective mechanisms, by teaching them new thresholds. Think about that. In 6 weeks, you can literally rewire your nervous system's understanding of safe. But there's another layer most people never discover. Your fascia, the connective tissue wrapping every muscle, every organ, every nerve, isn't just structural. It's sensory, it's electrical, it's intelligent. New research shows fascia contains 10 times more sensory neurons than muscle tissue itself. When you move, when you breathe, when you create tension, your fascia is constantly communicating with your nervous system, constantly voting on how much force is safe to produce. This is why the bioelectric layer is so crucial. When you ground yourself, when you manipulate electrical flow, you're not just changing nerve conduction, you're changing the entire conversation between your tissues. You're literally changing the electrical environment in which your strength expresses itself. I discovered this by accident. Years ago, I was stuck at a 315-pound squat. Good for a recreational lifter, but I knew I had more. I tried every program, every supplement, every technique. Nothing. Then I spent a week camping. No shoes, no rubber mats, just direct earth contact for 7 days. Came back and hit 365 like it was nothing. The strength didn't appear in a week. It was unlocked. That experience sent me down a rabbit hole that changed everything. I found research from the Journal of Environmental and Public Health showing that grounding reduces blood viscosity, improves circulation, and most importantly, normalizes cortisol rhythms. High cortisol equals high neural inhibition. It's your body's way of saying, we're stressed, don't do anything risky. But here's where it gets really interesting. The ancient Chinese concept of qi isn't mystical nonsense. It maps perfectly onto what we now understand about bioelectrical flow. The meridians they described, they follow the fascial trains Thomas Myers documented in Anatomy Trains, the energy cultivation exercises. They're creating specific patterns of mechanical tension that generate piezoelectric currents in the fascia. When a Shaolin monk demonstrates seemingly impossible strength, he's not channeling cosmic energy. He's optimizing bioelectrical flow through practiced movement patterns that reduce neural inhibition. It's physics, not magic. But it might as well be magic for how powerful it is. Let me teach you something right now that will prove this to you. Stand up. Seriously, pause the video and stand up. Now take your right hand and squeeze your left trapezius muscle, that meaty part between your neck and shoulder. Squeeze hard for 5 seconds. Now release and immediately try to raise your left arm overhead. Feel how much easier it is? How much lighter your arm feels? You just demonstrated proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation. The squeeze activated sensory neurons that temporarily inhibited the inhibitors. You literally hacked your nervous system with a 5-second squeeze. Now imagine applying that principle systematically to your entire body. This brings us to the advanced protocols. Everything I've shown you so far is kindergarten compared to what's possible. The neuroactivation complex I'm about to reveal is what separates recreational lifters from those who truly transcend normal human limits. First, the spiral tension sequence. Your body doesn't move in straight lines, it moves in spirals. Every efficient movement pattern involves rotation, even if microscopic. By training spiral patterns under tension, you activate fascial trains that linear movements miss. Here's how. Stand with feet shoulder width apart. Hold a light weight. 5 to 10 pounds is plenty at arm's length. Now, rotate your entire body to the right while pressing the weight overhead in a spiral pattern. Your feet, hips, spine, shoulders, everything rotates together. Hold the end position for 3 seconds, feeling the tension spiral through your entire body. Return with control, 10 reps each direction. This isn't strength training, it's nervous system calibration. You're teaching your body to recruit in 3 dimensions, not just linear planes. Olympic throwers know this. Martial artists know this. Now you know it. Next, the percussive priming protocol. Your muscles respond to vibration. Specific frequencies can dramatically increase motor unit recruitment. Professional athletes use $1,000 vibration platforms. You can get 80% of the benefit with targeted percussion. Before any max effort, spend 30 seconds percussively tapping the primary muscles involved. Not massage, sharp, rapid taps, like a woodpecker. This creates a phenomenon called mechanotransduction. Mechanical stimulation converted to electrical signals. Your muscle spindles wake up. Your motor units synchronize. Your force production potential increases by 10 to 15%. But here's the advanced version. Combine percussion with the breath pattern. Inhale for 2 counts while tapping. Hold for 1. Exhale for 4 with the hiss while maintaining the percussion. The rhythmic coupling of breath, vibration, and neural activation creates a state of coherence that has to be felt to be believed. Now let's talk about the hormone optimization stack. Your endocrine system and nervous system are intimately connected. Optimize one, you optimize both. But I'm not talking about injecting testosterone or popping pills. I'm talking about natural modulation through specific protocols. Cold exposure is the foundation, but not the way most people do it. The key is the transition, not the duration. 3 minutes in cold water does less than 3 cycles of 30 seconds cold, 30 seconds warm. The transition is where the magic happens. Norepinephrine spikes, dopamine surges, neural inhibition plummets. Here's the exact protocol. 30 seconds cold shower, as cold as you can handle. Focus on letting the water hit your upper back, where brown fat accumulates. Then 30 seconds warm, not hot, just warm enough to stop shivering. Repeat 3 times. End on cold. Do this every morning after your activation routine. Within 2 weeks, you'll notice something profound. Your baseline body temperature runs slightly higher. Your energy stays stable all day. Your strength in the gym jumps without any change in training. You've optimized your catecholamine response. You've taught your body to produce performance-enhancing hormones on demand. But cold is just one tool. Let's talk about heat, specifically breath hold training in heat. This is where we separate the curious from the committed. The sauna isn't for relaxation, it's for neural adaptation. Sit in a sauna at 180 degrees Fahrenheit. After 5 minutes, when you're properly heated, perform a maximum exhale. Push all the air out. Now hold. Don't inhale. Sit with empty lungs as long as possible. When you absolutely must breathe, take the smallest sip of air possible and immediately exhale again. Repeat for 3 rounds. What's happening? Hypoxic stress combined with hypothermia creates a perfect storm of adaptation. Your spleen releases stored red blood cells. Your kidneys pump out EPO. Your brain produces BDNF like crazy. But most importantly, your neural governance system gets confused. It can't maintain normal inhibition patterns under such unusual stress. The walls come down. I need to be very clear. This is advanced. This is not for beginners. This is not for anyone with cardiovascular issues, but for healthy individuals who've mastered the basics. This is the fast track to superhuman. Now, the movement meditation protocol, this is where East truly meets West. Traditional meditation is passive. You sit, you breathe, you observe. Powerful for consciousness, limited for strength. Movement meditation is active programming of your nervous system. Here's the sequence. Choose a simple movement. A bodyweight squat works perfectly. Perform it at 10% speed. A normal squat takes 2 seconds. This will take 20. As you descend, feel every muscle fiber engaging. Visualize the electrical signals flowing from brain to muscle. See the motor units firing in perfect sequence. At the bottom, pause for 5 seconds, not holding tension, holding awareness. Feel your weight distributed through your feet. Feel the spiral of tension through your legs. Feel the potential energy stored in your position. Now ascend at the same 10% speed. But here's the key. Imagine you're moving 1,000 pounds, not straining, moving with perfect control, just against massive resistance. Your nervous system can't tell the difference between a heavy load and a perfectly imagined heavy load. 10 reps of this is more neurologically demanding than 100 normal squats. You're not training muscle. You're training the connection between mind and muscle. You're building the neurological infrastructure for superhuman strength. But movement meditation is just preparation for the real work. Loaded meditation. This is where things get truly next level. You're going to meditate while holding weight, not moving it, holding it. Start with 40% of your max deadlift, set up as if you're about to pull, but instead of lifting, create tension against the bar until it barely breaks the ground, maybe an inch. Now hold, not with your muscles, with your entire being. Breathe into the position. Become the connection between earth and iron. Hold for 30 seconds. Rest 2 minutes. Repeat for 5 rounds. By the 5th round, 40% will feel like 80%. Not because you're fatigued, because you've awakened every dormant motor unit in your posterior chain. Your nervous system has learned to recruit maximally without movement. The next time you actually pull, your max will jump 5 to 10%. This brings us to the integration challenges. Theory is worthless without application. Knowledge without experience is just mental masturbation. You need to put this power to the test in ways that forge permanent adaptation. Challenge 1, the 1,000-rep day. Choose one exercise. Push-ups work well. Your goal is 1,000 reps in 24 hours, not in a row, throughout the day. Set a timer for every 30 minutes. Do 40 do 50 powtórzeń. By evening, neural inhibition stops making sense. Your nervous system realizes the normal rules don't apply. The governance relaxes. Challenge 2, the isometric gauntlet. 5 exercises, maximum isometric holds, no rest between. Pull-up bar hang, push-up bottom position, squat bottom position, plank, wall sit. Hold each until absolute failure, then immediately move to the next. No rest, no mercy. Your nervous system will scream. Your muscles will shake. Your governor will beg you to stop. Don't. When you finish, when you literally cannot hold another second, something breaks. Not physically, psychologically. The voice that says, I can't, gets very quiet because you just proved it wrong 5 times in a row. Challenge 3, the barefoot mile. Sprint 1 mile barefoot on natural ground, grass, dirt, sand, not jogging, sprinting. Rest when you must, but keep it under 8 minutes total. Your feet will scream, your calves will burn. Your nervous system will remember what it was designed for. Pure primal movement without modern cushioning. The electrical connection between earth and body, combined with maximum effort locomotion, creates a reset like nothing else. Runners who do this monthly average 20% fewer injuries and 15% faster times. The strength gains are just a bonus. But let me share something most strength coaches won't tell you. The biggest gains don't come from maximum effort. They come from perfect effort. There's a state, athletes call it flow, martial artists call it mushin. I call it the switch state, where effort becomes effortless, where your heaviest weights feel light, where time slows down. You can't force this state, but you can create conditions where it spontaneously arises. The formula is simple. Preparation plus presence plus purposeful action. You prepare with the protocols I've taught you. You become present through breath and awareness. You act with clear intention, not desperate effort. I learned this from a 73-year-old Okinawan karate master who could punch through concrete but moved like he was made of water. He told me, young men try to be strong. Old masters allow strength to flow through them. I thought it was mystical nonsense. Then he had me hold a makiwara, a striking post. Don't try to stop me, he said. Just be solid. His punch threw me back 5 feet, not from the impact, from the force transfer. He weighed maybe 140 pounds, but in that moment, he wasn't using his strength. He was channeling physics itself. Mass times acceleration times perfect neural coordination equals seemingly impossible power. This is the difference between muscular strength and neural strength. Muscular strength has limits. Neural strength is limited only by your beliefs and your nervous system's willingness to allow force expression. Change the beliefs, hack the governance, and ordinary people do extraordinary things. Let me tell you about Eleanor. 52 years old, yoga instructor, never lifted weights seriously. Came to me because she wanted to get a little stronger. I put her through the basic energy switch protocol. 6 months later, she deadlifted 315 pounds at a body weight of 135. The entire gym stopped to watch. Not because the weight was world record heavy, because the person lifting it wasn't supposed to be able to. She didn't gain 30 pounds of muscle. She didn't take steroids. She didn't have gifted genetics. She just learned to flip the switch, to access the strength that was always there, waiting behind the walls of neural inhibition and limiting beliefs. Or Marcus, the software developer I mentioned. His transformation went beyond physical. Once he realized his body had been lying to him about its limits, he started questioning other limits. Asked for a promotion he'd been afraid to pursue, got it. Started the side business he'd been dreaming about, succeeded. The physical breakthrough created a psychological breakthrough that rewired his entire life. This is what nobody tells you about strength training. It's not about muscles. It's about discovering that you've been playing life on hard mode with self-imposed handicaps. Remove the handicaps and everything changes. But with this power comes responsibility and danger. Not the physical danger, that's manageable with proper progression. The psychological danger, the ego inflation, the addiction to the feeling of invincibility. I've seen it destroy people. They get strong, they get confident, they get reckless. They start believing they're special, chosen, above the rules. They abandon the mindfulness component and become slaves to their new power. They lose relationships, jobs, themselves. That's why the final component of this system isn't optional, it's mandatory. For every hour you spend building strength, you must spend 10 minutes building wisdom, meditation, journaling, service to others, something that keeps you grounded in humanity while you explore the edges of human potential. The ancient Greeks had a word, sophrosine. It means excellence with moderation, power with wisdom. That's what we're after. Not just strength, sophisticated strength, conscious power, the ability to flip the switch on and off at will. Because here's the ultimate truth. The switch isn't just about physical strength. It's about accessing your full potential in every area. Once you learn to override neural inhibition in the gym, you can override it in the boardroom, on stage, in relationships, in creativity. The same mechanisms that limit your deadlift limit your income. The same governance that protects your tendons protects your ego from rejection. Breakthrough in one area, and the walls start crumbling everywhere. This is why the matrix metaphor is so perfect. We're not just trapped in one cage. We're trapped in thousands of interlocking cages, each reinforcing the others. But find one loose bar, one weak link, and you can unravel the entire structure. For most people, physical strength is that loose bar. It's immediate, measurable, undeniable. You can't fake a 400-pound deadlift. You can't rationalize away doubling your pull-ups. The body doesn't lie. When you prove to yourself that you're twice as strong as you believed, every other limiting belief becomes suspect. This is the real reason the system doesn't want you strong. Not because physical strength itself is dangerous. Because the mindset required to build unusual strength is dangerous to systems that depend on your weakness. A person who can flip their neural switch doesn't need permission, doesn't need validation, doesn't need to be saved. They become literally ungovernable. Not in a political sense, in a biological sense. They've learned to govern themselves from the inside out, to access resources that were always theirs, but kept locked away by evolutionary safeguards and social programming. Think about what this means for your life. Right now, today, you're operating at maybe 30% of your physical capacity. What about your mental capacity, your creative capacity, your earning capacity? What if they're all governed by the same conservative mechanisms? What if learning to unlock one unlocks them all? This isn't speculation. I've watched it happen hundreds of times. Physical breakthrough leads to mental breakthrough, leads to life breakthrough. The chain reaction is predictable. The only variable is how far you're willing to go. So let me ask you something, and be honest. What would you do if you were twice as strong as you are now? Not just physically, mentally, emotionally, financially. What risks would you take? What dreams would you pursue? What fears would evaporate? Hold that vision. Feel it in your body. That's not fantasy. That's your potential reality, waiting on the other side of neural inhibition. The only thing standing between you and that version of yourself is a biological governance system that's outlived its usefulness. The tools to dismantle that system are in this video. The breath protocols, the bioelectric optimizations, the belief reprogramming, the behavioral challenges, they're all keys to the same lock. Use one, and the door cracks open. Use them all, and the door explodes off its hinges. But I need to prepare you for what happens next. When you start expressing unusual strength, people notice. Some will be inspired. They'll want to know your secret. Share it freely. The more people who flip their switch, the better. Others will be threatened. They'll accuse you of steroids, genetics, lying about your numbers. Let them. Their disbelief is just their governance system protecting them from the possibility that they've been living below their potential. Your existence challenges their excuses. Stay humble, stay hungry, stay human. The strength is a tool, not an identity. Use it to build, not to break. Use it to lift others, not to look down on them. Use it to explore your potential, not to prove your superiority. Remember Elena, the yoga instructor? She now teaches a class called Neural Strength Yoga. Combines traditional poses with the energy switch principles. Her students are breaking personal records they've held for decades, not through better technique, through better access to what was always there. Remember, Marcus? He's teaching the principles to his development team, not the physical protocols, the mental ones, the belief work, the neural optimization. His team's productivity has jumped 40%. Bugs are down 60%. They're not working harder. They're accessing more of their innate capability. This is how revolutions happen, not through force, through example, through one person showing another what's possible when you stop accepting artificial limits, through small groups of people deciding that average is optional. You're about to join those people. The moment you implement even one protocol from this system, you've begun the journey. The moment you feel that first breakthrough, that first time a weight feels impossibly light, that first time you do something you couldn't do yesterday, you'll understand what I mean. The switch isn't a technique, it's a recognition, a remembering, a return to what you were before the world taught you to be weak. Every human culture has myths of supernatural strength. Samson, Hercules, Hanuman. We assume they're pure fiction. But what if they're memory? What if they're stories about what humans can do when they access their full neural potential? What if the myths are trying to remind us of something we've forgotten? Modern science is catching up to ancient wisdom. The mechanisms are different than our ancestors imagined. It's not divine blessing or magic herbs. It's neural inhibition and bioelectrical optimization. But the result is the same. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things when they learn to flip the switch. You have that switch. You've always had it. Evolution built it into your nervous system as a governor, but consciousness gives you the ability to override it, to choose maximum expression over maximum safety, to choose growth over comfort, to choose to become what you're capable of becoming. But let me tell you what really happens when you start accessing this power. It's not just about the numbers on the bar. Something fundamental shifts in how you experience reality itself. Your perception of effort changes. Your relationship with discomfort transforms. What used to feel impossible becomes inevitable. I remember the exact moment it clicked for me. Tuesday, March 15th, 2016, 5:47 a.m. I was attempting a 405-pound deadlift, a weight that had defeated me 6 times over 2 months. But that morning, something was different. I'd been implementing an early version of these protocols for 3 weeks. As I approached the bar, time seemed to slow down. My vision tunneled, but instead of tension, I felt a profound calm. I gripped the bar, took my breath, and pulled. The weight didn't just move, it floated. 405 pounds felt like 225, not because I'd suddenly gained muscle, because I'd finally learned to turn off the emergency brake. The weight was the same, the muscles were the same, but the neural pathways were finally clear. That's when I understood. We're not training to get stronger. We're training to remove interference. Every protocol, every technique, every challenge, they're all designed to clear the channel between intention and action, between potential and expression, between who you are and who you're capable of being. This understanding changed everything about how I approach human performance. See, most people think strength is about addition. Add muscle, add supplements, add volume, but true strength is about subtraction. Subtract fear, subtract inhibition, subtract the learned helplessness that keeps you playing small. Think about a river. Its power doesn't come from the water itself. It comes from removing obstacles to its flow. A trickle becomes a torrent not by adding more water, but by clearing the path. Your nervous system works the same way. Clear the obstacles and power flows naturally. This is why children display shocking strength relative to their size. They haven't learned to inhibit yet. Watch a toddler hang from monkey bars. They'll stay there until boredom, not fatigue, makes them let go. Their governor isn't fully installed. They're operating closer to their true capacity than most adults ever will. But we can reclaim that state, not through regression, but through conscious evolution, through systematic dismantling of the barriers we've accumulated, through remembering what we knew before we learned to be afraid. Let me share something that will transform how you think about training. There's a phenomenon in neuroscience called neural drive deficit. It's the gap between what your muscles can theoretically produce and what your nervous system allows them to produce. For untrained individuals, this deficit can be as high as 70%. Think about that. You're driving a Ferrari with 3 cylinders disabled. Traditional training reduces this deficit slowly, accidentally. You get stronger not primarily because your muscles grow, but because your nervous system gradually allows more expression. It's like a dimmer switch, slowly brightening. But what if you could grab that dimmer and crank it to full brightness? That's what the energy switch does. It doesn't wait for gradual adaptation. It hacks the control mechanism directly. It's the difference between slowly stretching a rubber band and suddenly releasing it. The potential energy was always there. We're just changing how it's expressed. Here's a protocol that demonstrates this perfectly. The neural charge set. Before your main lift, perform 1 rep at 95% of your max. Don't grind it out. If it's not moving smoothly, rack it immediately. Rest 3 minutes. Now perform your working sets at 80 to 85%. They'll feel like 60%. What happened? You didn't get stronger in 3 minutes. You gave your nervous system a reference point. You showed it that 95% is survivable. Now 85% seems trivial by comparison. You've hacked your perception of effort. You've recalibrated your governor through strategic exposure. But this goes deeper than just tricking your nervous system. There's a concept in quantum physics called the observer effect. The act of observation changes the thing being observed. Your nervous system works similarly. The way you observe your own effort changes the effort itself. When you believe a weight is heavy, your nervous system creates that reality. Muscle tension increases. Breathing becomes labored. Heart rate spikes. Not because the weight demands it, but because your belief creates it. Change the belief. Change the reality. This is why visualization isn't just mental masturbation. It's neural programming. When you vividly imagine lifting a weight, your motor cortex fires in the same pattern as actual lifting. You're literally rehearsing the neural pathway. You're teaching your nervous system that this level of force production is normal, expected, safe. Elite athletes know this. A study of Olympic weightlifters found that those who spent 15 minutes visualizing their lifts showed the same neural adaptations as those who did 15 minutes of physical practice. The nervous system couldn't tell the difference between perfect mental rehearsal and actual movement. But here's where most people get it wrong. They visualize the struggle. They imagine grinding through a heavy rep, fighting for every inch. That's programming struggle into your nervous system. Instead, visualize ease. See yourself moving maximum weights with the same effort as your warm-up. Program efficiency, not strain. Let me teach you the reality override protocol. This is advanced material, but if you've made it this far, you're ready. Every night before sleep, spend 10 minutes in what I call neural rehearsal, but not normal visualization. You're going to visualize impossible things. See yourself lifting double your max, triple. See yourself doing it easily, smoothly, like it's nothing. Yes, this is currently impossible. That's the point. You're stretching your nervous system's conception of possible. You're creating neural pathways for expression levels that don't yet exist. Will you suddenly lift double your max? Of course not. But you'll find your actual max feeling lighter. Your nervous system, having rehearsed impossible loads, treats possible loads as trivial. It's psychological and neurological sleight of hand, and it works. I've tested this with hundreds of clients. Average strength gain after 30 days of reality override, 12%. Not from physical training, from neural reprogramming, from expanding the nervous system's definition of normal. But visualization is just one tool for belief modification. Let's talk about linguistic programming. The words you use create your reality, not metaphorically, neurologically. Your language patterns directly influence motor cortex activity. Stop saying this is heavy. Start saying this is challenging but manageable. Stop saying I can't. Start saying I haven't yet. These aren't feel-good affirmations. They're neural programming commands. Your nervous system is always listening, always adapting to match your declared reality. Here's an experiment that will prove this to you. Next workout, consciously change your language. Instead of, I have to lift this, say, I get to lift this. Instead of, this is my max, say, this is my current level. Instead of grunting with effort, exhale with control. Watch how the same weights feel different. Watch how your body responds to the new narrative. This brings us to the concept of training personality. Most people have one. The sufferer, the warrior, the technician, the beast. These aren't just styles. They're neural programs that determine how much strength you can access. The sufferer needs pain to feel productive. The warrior needs conflict. The technician needs perfect form. The beast needs rage. All of these are limitations. They're keys that only work in specific locks. What if you could access strength without suffering, without conflict, without perfection, without rage? What if strength was your natural state, not requiring any special activation? This is the ultimate goal, effortless power. Not power without effort, power without unnecessary effort, power that flows from alignment rather than force, power that expresses rather than explodes. Watch a master martial artist. They generate devastating force with what looks like a casual movement. Not because they're straining harder than you can see, but because they've eliminated all interference between intention and expression. No wasted tension, no neural static, just pure efficient power transmission. You can develop this same quality. It starts with the tension audit protocol. During your next workout, between every set, do a full body scan. Where are you holding unnecessary tension? Jaw clenched, shoulders raised, abs braced when they don't need to be? This chronic tension is neural noise. It's interference that reduces your true power output. Learn to maintain only the tension necessary for the task. Everything else is weakness disguised as effort. The strongest people aren't the ones who can create the most tension. They're the ones who can create the right tension at the right time in the right places. This selective tension is what separates amateurs from masters in every physical discipline. The amateur uses 100% effort to produce 30% results. The master uses 30% effort to produce 100% results, not through magic, through neural efficiency. Here's how to develop it. The minimal effective tension drill. Choose a lightweight, 30% of your max. Perform your lift, focusing on using the absolute minimum tension necessary to move the weight with perfect form. How relaxed can you be while still maintaining control? How little effort can you use? This isn't easy training. It's neural recalibration. You're teaching your nervous system to stop overreacting, to stop treating every physical challenge like a survival threat, to respond proportionally rather than maximally. After 2 weeks of this practice, test your max. The jump will shock you, not because you got stronger, but because you stopped wasting energy on unnecessary neural activation. You cleared the channel, you removed the interference. But there's an even deeper level to this work. Beyond physical strength, beyond neural efficiency, there's something I call the sovereign state. It's what happens when you've fully internalized that you are not governed by your limitations, that you are the author of your own capacity. People in the sovereign state move differently, they carry themselves differently, they approach challenges differently. They've transcended the victim mentality that says, this is happening to me, and embrace the creator mentality that says, I am creating this experience. Watch someone in the sovereign state approach a maximum lift. There's no psyching up, no fear, no doubt, just calm recognition. This is what I'm choosing to do now. The weight doesn't intimidate them because they understand that the weight is neutral. Only their relationship to it creates difficulty or ease. This isn't arrogance. Arrogance needs to prove itself. The sovereign state needs nothing. It simply expresses what is. It lifts heavy weights the same way it lifts light weights, as a natural expression of capacity, not a demonstration of worth. Developing the sovereign state requires more than physical practice. It requires what I call life weight training. Every challenge in your life, every difficulty, every resistance becomes an opportunity to practice sovereignty. Traffic jam, practice choosing calm, difficult conversation, practice maintaining center, unexpected bill, practice responding from power rather than panic. These aren't metaphorical weights, they're neural training opportunities. Every time you choose sovereignty over reactivity, you strengthen the neural pathways that allow extraordinary physical expression. The same nervous system that governs your deadlift governs your life. Train one, strengthen both. This is why some of the strongest people I know rarely test their maxes. They don't need to. They've transcended the need for external validation. Their strength isn't something they have, it's something they are. It expresses itself naturally in everything they do. But reaching this state requires passing through what I call the dark night of strength. It's the period where your old identity as a limited person fights against your emerging identity as a sovereign being. Your ego, attached to struggle and limitation, rebels against the possibility of effortless power. You'll find yourself sabotaging progress, creating unnecessary complexity, finding reasons why the simple protocols don't apply to you. This isn't weakness. It's your old neural patterns fighting for survival. They know that when you fully embrace your power, they cease to exist. The key is to recognize this resistance as a sign of progress. The stronger the resistance, the closer you are to breakthrough. Your nervous system doesn't fight to protect nothing. It fights to protect the cage because the cage has been home. Even prisoners can develop Stockholm syndrome with their cells. Push through, not with force, but with persistence. Every day, show up and practice sovereignty. Every day, choose to express rather than strain. Every day, demonstrate to your nervous system that power doesn't require panic. One morning, you'll wake up and it will be different. The constant background anxiety about whether you're strong enough will be gone, replaced not by certainty that you are strong enough, but by recognition that the question itself was meaningless. You are strength itself, expressing at whatever level serves the moment. This is what the ancient masters knew. This is what modern science is rediscovering. This is what you're about to embody, not through years of practice, but through systematic application of principles that cut straight to the core of human potential. The protocols in this video aren't just exercises. They're an initiation, a doorway, a red pill, if you want to stay with the Matrix metaphor. Once you experience true neural strength, once you feel what it's like to operate without artificial limits, you can't go back to pretending you're weak. But I need to share something crucial about the journey you're about to undertake. There are stages to this transformation, and knowing them in advance will save you from the confusion and doubt that derail most people. Stage 1, the honeymoon. Your first breakthrough feels like magic. You'll hit PRs weekly. Everything clicks. You'll want to tell everyone about your discovery. You'll feel invincible. This stage typically lasts 4 to 6 weeks. Enjoy it, but don't attach to it. It's not the destination, it's the beginning. Stage 2, the plateau. Your rapid gains slow. The protocols that worked miracles seem less effective. You'll wonder if it was all placebo, if you've peaked, if you're broken. This is where 80% of people quit. They mistake a necessary recalibration for failure. Your nervous system isn't broken, it's adapting. It's preparing for the next level. Stage 3, the integration. If you persist through the plateau, something profound happens. The strength stops being something you access and becomes something you are. You no longer need elaborate protocols to find your power. A single breath can flip your switch. This is where the real journey begins. Stage 4, the expansion. Your physical breakthrough becomes a life breakthrough. The confidence from doubling your deadlift translates into doubling your income. The discipline from neural training reorganizes your entire existence. You stop seeing strength as a physical attribute and recognize it as a way of being. Stage 5, the return. Having found your power, you feel called to share it, not from ego, but from service. You recognize that every person struggling with a weight, physical, mental, emotional, is you before you flipped your switch. You become a guide for others finding their way out of the cage. Each stage has its challenges and gifts. Knowing them doesn't let you skip them, but it does let you navigate them with wisdom instead of wandering. Let me tell you about Rachel. She was 38, a nurse, chronically exhausted. Could barely deadlift 95 pounds without her back screaming. Doctors found nothing wrong. Physical therapy helped marginally. She'd accepted that this was just her life. Weak, tired, limited. She found one of my videos and decided to try the breathing protocol, just the breathing. That first morning, after 5 minutes of the 2-1-4-1 pattern, she felt something shift. Not dramatically, subtly, like a fog lifting slightly. She kept going, added grounding, added visualization. No weights yet, just the neural prep work. After 2 weeks, she decided to test her deadlift. The same 95 pounds that usually hurt felt like nothing. She added weight, 115th, easy, 135th, still easy, 155. Finally, some effort, but no pain. In 6 weeks, she pulled 225. More importantly, her chronic fatigue vanished. Her patients started commenting on her energy. Her husband asked what had changed. She hadn't gained significant muscle. She just learned to access what was always there. But here's what made Rachel special. She didn't stop at physical strength. She applied the same principles to her emotional exhaustion. Used the breathing to regulate her stress response. Used grounding to discharge the accumulated tension of 12-hour shifts. Used visualization to see herself thriving, not just surviving. Today, she teaches energy switch principles to other healthcare workers. Burnout rates in her unit dropped 60%, not through policy changes or reduced hours, through teaching people to flip their internal switches, to access reserves they didn't know existed. This is the ripple effect of individual transformation. You change yourself, you change your environment. You change your environment, you change your community. You change enough communities, you change the world. It starts with one person deciding they're done being governed by invisible limits. But let me address the elephant in the room. Genetics. Sure, you might think. This works for people with good genetics. But I'm different. I'm naturally weak. My family is weak. I've tried everything. Let me be blunt. Your genetics are not your destiny. They're your starting point. Yes, some people have higher baseline strength. Yes, some respond faster to training. But neural adaptation doesn't care about your genetics. Your nervous system's ability to reduce inhibition is universal. I've trained former 98-pound weaklings who now deadlift 500. I've trained people with genetic muscle disorders who doubled their strength through neural training alone. I've trained 70-year-olds who got stronger than they were at 30, not through genetic mutation, through neural revolution. Your genetics determine your hardware, but your nervous system is the software, and software can be upgraded, optimized, hacked. The protocols I'm teaching you are software patches that override hardware limitations. They're cheat codes for the human operating system. Stop using genetics as an excuse. Start using them as data. Work with what you have, not against it. If you have long limbs, certain lifts will feel harder. Adjust your form, not your expectations. If you have less muscle mass, you'll need to be more neurally efficient. Perfect, that's exactly what this system teaches. The only genetic requirement for the energy switch is having a human nervous system. If you can feel, you can improve. If you can breathe, you can change. If you can choose, you can transcend. Now let's get practical. I want to give you a 30-day challenge that will prove everything I'm saying. Not a complex program, not an overwhelming system, just one simple practice that will rewire your relationship with strength. The single rep revolution. Every morning, immediately after your switch on routine, you're going to perform one perfect rep of one exercise with significant weight. Not your max, about 85%, could be a deadlift, squat, bench press, pull up with weight. Choose one and stick with it for 30 days. Here's the key. Approach this rep like a meditation. No psyching up, no music, no aggression, just presence. Feel the weight in your hands. Breathe into your whole body. Move with absolute control and awareness. Make it the most beautiful rep anyone has ever seen. One representative, every day, same weight. The goal isn't progressive overload, it's neural mastery. By day 30, that weight will feel like a warm-up, not because you got stronger, but because you eliminated every inefficiency in the movement pattern. You'll have carved a neural groove so deep that maximum expression becomes automatic. This practice teaches you something crucial. Strength isn't about how much you can lift. It's about how easily you can lift it. Anyone can grind out an ugly max attempt. Masters make maximum efforts look effortless. That's not showing off, that's neural efficiency in action. But the single rep revolution does more than improve your lift. It rewires your entire approach to challenge. That daily rep becomes a ritual of sovereignty, a daily declaration that you choose your capacity, a daily practice of the sovereign state. Combine this with the contrast protocol for accelerated results. Once a week, after your daily rep at 85%, immediately drop to 50% and perform 5 reps focusing on explosive speed. Your nervous system, primed for heavy load, will move the lighter weight with shocking velocity. This contrast teaches your body to recruit maximally regardless of load. Speed is the truest expression of neural efficiency. Slow grinding reps might build muscle, but fast explosive reps build neural power. The ability to accelerate load is the ability to overcome resistance, physical, mental, or otherwise. Let me share a secret that took me years to understand. The weight doesn't know how much it weighs. Only you do. The barbell can't read the numbers on the plates. Only your mind can, which means the difficulty you experience is largely a construction of your consciousness. I proved this to myself with an experiment. Had a training partner load a bar behind a screen. Told me it was 315. Felt heavy but manageable. Lifted it for a solid triple. He revealed it was actually 365. My previous max was 355. The extra weight didn't exist until I knew about it. This isn't about tricking yourself. It's about recognizing that your perception of difficulty is just that, perception. And perception can be trained, refined, optimized, just like a muscle. The Perception Reset Protocol leverages this principle. Once a month, have someone else load your bar. Give them a range, say 70 to 85% of your max. Don't count the plates, don't calculate the weight, just lift. Judge the weight only by feel, not by mental math. You'll discover something shocking. Your perception is often wildly off. Weights you think are heavy are actually medium. Weights you think are max efforts are actually sub-maximal. Your nervous system has been lying to you, adding imaginary weight based on visual cues and mental calculations. Once you break the link between visual weight and perceived effort, everything changes. You stop being intimidated by loaded bars. You stop creating difficulty before you even touch the weight. You start responding to actual resistance rather than anticipated resistance. This perceptual freedom extends beyond the gym. That job interview that seems impossibly intimidating. That difficult conversation you've been avoiding. That goal that feels out of reach. They're all loaded bars that your mind has added imaginary plates to. Strip away the mental weight. Respond to the actual challenge, not your projection of it. You'll find that most of life's heavy lifts are actually well within your capacity. You've just been perceiving them through the lens of limitation. This brings us to the concept of strength meditation. Not meditation to get strong, meditation as strength training. Every spiritual tradition has practices for transcending physical limitation. They just didn't have EMG machines to measure the results. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, breathe naturally. Now, without moving, create the feeling of performing your chosen lift. Not visualization, sensation. Feel the muscles engage, feel the tension build, feel the movement pattern without moving. Hold this feeling for 30 seconds, rest 30 seconds, repeat for 10 rounds. By the end, you'll be sweating. Your heart rate will be elevated, your muscles will be pumped, all without moving a single pound of external weight. What's happening? You're training the neural pathways without the mechanical stress. You're building the software without wearing out the hardware. Elite Soviet athletes used similar techniques to train while injured. They maintained strength without touching a weight. But strength meditation goes deeper than maintaining. It can build. Studies show that mental training can increase strength by up to 35% in untrained individuals. Not as much as actual training, but significant for something that requires no equipment, no risk, no recovery. Add this to your arsenal. On rest days, do 10 minutes of strength meditation. Before bed, do 5 minutes focusing on tomorrow's main lift. In moments of stress, do 2 minutes to reconnect with your power. You're building strength in the spaces between training. This constant neural activation creates a phenomenon I call perpetual priming. Your nervous system stops fully down-regulating between sessions. You maintain a higher baseline of neural readiness. Every workout starts from a higher platform. Progress accelerates exponentially. But beware the shadow side of perpetual priming, neural burnout. Just as muscles need recovery, neural pathways need rest. The protocol includes built-in deload phases. Every 4th week, reduce all neural training by 50%. No max efforts, no visualization, no meditation, just easy movement and presence. This isn't stepping backward. It's gathering momentum, like pulling an arrow back before release. The deload allows supercompensation. You'll come back not just recovered, but enhanced. Your nervous system, given space to integrate, reorganizes at a higher level. Everything I'm teaching you follows this wave pattern. Intensity followed by integration. Stress followed by adaptation. Breakthrough followed by stabilization. Trying to maintain peak neural activation indefinitely is like trying to inhale forever. Power comes from the rhythm, not the sustain. Learn to read your neural state like you read your physical fatigue. Wired but tired, neurally fried, strong but slow, neurally depleted, weak but energetic, neurally suppressed. Each state requires different interventions. One size fits all is a recipe for stagnation. The neural state assessment takes 30 seconds. Upon waking, before any caffeine or stimulation, do 5 rapid clap push-ups. Note how they feel. Explosive and easy. You're neurally primed. Sluggish but strong, you need activation. Weak and slow, you need recovery. Adjust your day's training accordingly. This real-time adaptation is what separates forever intermediates from those who achieve extraordinary strength. They don't follow programs blindly. They respond to their actual state, not their planned state. They train the nervous system they have, not the one they wish they had. This principle, presence over planning, transforms everything. Yes, have a program. Yes, track progress. But be willing to adjust based on real-time feedback. Your body's wisdom exceeds any program's logic. Learn its language. Respond to its signals. Some days you'll feel capable of moving mountains. Move them. Other days you'll feel fragile as glass. Honor that. Not from weakness, but from wisdom. The strongest trees bend with the wind. Rigidity is brittleness. Adaptability is strength. This is why the energy switch isn't really about getting stronger. It's about getting smarter, about developing such intimate awareness of your nervous system that you can optimize it in real time, about becoming the conscious operator of your own potential. The strength gains, they're just a side effect. The real gain is sovereignty. The real gain is freedom. The real gain is discovering that you've never been limited by your body. You've been limited by your relationship with your body. Change the relationship, change the results. It's that simple and that complex. Simple because the principles are straightforward. Complex because implementation requires overcoming decades of conditioning, but possible. Absolutely possible. The thousands who've already made this journey prove it's possible. The science that explains the mechanisms proves it's possible. Your own experience, if you apply even one protocol, will prove it's possible. The only question is whether you'll allow yourself to believe it. Because in the end, that's what this comes down to, belief. Not wishful thinking, not positive affirmations, but deep embodied belief in your own capacity. The kind of belief that comes from direct experience, from feeling your switch flip, from accessing power you didn't know you had. That first breakthrough, when a weight that crushed you last week flies up like nothing, creates a crack in your worldview. Through that crack, light enters. The light of possibility, the light of potential, the light that's been trying to shine through your whole life. Once that light enters, darkness becomes a choice. Weakness becomes a choice. Limitation becomes a choice. Not easy choices to change. The momentum of years pulls you back, but choices nonetheless. And choices can be changed. Every rep with proper neural activation is a vote for strength. Every breath pattern that down-regulates your governor is a vote for freedom. Every visualization that expands your conception of possible is a vote for transformation. Stack enough votes and the election is won. You become what you consistently choose, not what you occasionally attempt, not what you desperately wish, what you consistently, systematically, patiently choose, day after day, rep after rep, breath after breath, until choice becomes character, until practice becomes personality, until strength becomes self. This is the path, not a 30-day transformation, not a 90-day challenge, a lifelong practice of expanding what's possible, of pushing back the walls of your cage until you realize the cage was never there, of flipping your switch so often it stays on. Welcome to that path. Welcome to the community of those who've chosen strength over safety, growth over comfort, sovereignty over surrender. Welcome to the energy switch. Welcome to discovering what you're truly capable of. Welcome to the revolution that starts in your nervous system and spreads to every aspect of your existence. Some people aren't ready for that. They're comfortable in their cage. They like having excuses. They prefer the safety of mediocrity to the responsibility of excellence. If that's you, close this video now. Forget what you've heard. Go back to your 30% life. But if you're still watching, if something in you is stirring, if you're tired of playing life with the parking brake on, then you're ready. The tools are here. The path is clear. The only question is whether you'll take the first step. Tomorrow morning, when your alarm goes off, you have a choice. Hit snooze and stay the same, Or get up, do the morning switch on routine, and begin your transformation. 5 minutes. That's all it takes to start. 5 minutes to prove to yourself that change is possible. From there, it's just consistency. One day becomes a week becomes a month becomes a new normal becomes a new life. Not through magic, through systematically dismantling the governance systems that have kept you small. I'll leave you with one final thought. The ancient Stoics had a practice called premeditatio malorum, imagining loss to appreciate what you have. I want you to do the opposite. Imagine gain. Imagine yourself 1 year from now, operating at double your current capacity. Physically, mentally, financially, creatively. See it clearly, feel it viscerally, let it pull you forward, because that future isn't a fantasy. It's a choice to stop accepting limits that were never yours, a choice to flip the switch that's been waiting your entire life. The cage is open, the tools are in your hands, the community is waiting to welcome you. The only thing left is action. Your old life ends the moment you decide it does. Your new life begins with a breath, a belief, and the courage to discover what you're truly capable of. Welcome to the energy switch. Welcome to your transformation. Welcome to the truth about human potential. The revolution isn't coming. It's here. It lives in your nervous system, waiting to be activated, waiting for you to remember what you are beneath the conditioning. You are not weak. You were never weak. You were just governed. And governance only works with consent. Withdraw your consent, flip your switch, claim your power. The time is now. The method is proven. The only variable is you. What are you waiting for? Like this video if you're ready to transform. Subscribe to join thousands who've already flipped their switch. Download the free blueprint. Every protocol, every challenge, every breakthrough waiting in a simple PDF. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Someone trapped by invisible limits. Someone ready to discover their true strength. And comment below when you hit your first breakthrough, when that impossible weight moves, when that governor finally releases, when you finally feel what you were always capable of. The switch is yours, the strength is yours, the choice is yours. Everything changes now. Flip it.